Hey everybody, glad you're here. This is the Chase Squirrelson Show, and I'm your host, Chase Squirrelson. And if you're listening right now, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Today's episode is one of those conversations that starts simple and then goes somewhere interesting. So let's jump in. Today's hyperfocus will be on football. And of course, fans who have ADHD, this is an obsession. I can forget my emails, I can lose my keys, I can miss appointments. But I can explain in detail a blown third down call from 6 seasons ago that cost the Bears a game. Football is the only place my ADHD is mistaken for character. If my brain hates focus so much, why does it lock in for 3 straight hours on a Sunday? Football fandom is basically socially sanctioned ADHD. It includes hyperfocus, emotional intensity, patterns, recognition, rituals, and a memory for useless statistics. For 3 hours, the ADHD brain finally gets permission to lock in. Sick children, natural disasters, a serial killer on the loose, and a credible threat of imminent terrorist attack take a back seat to making sure the house is stocked with beer, snacks, pizza, assorted nuts, chips, a chicken wing or two, nachos, and almost every edible imaginable. That I'm a card-carrying member of the ADHD Brotherhood, all you need to know is I can't remember where my own bachelor party was, but I vividly remember where I was when the catastrophic double dink on the 43-yard line by the Chicago Bears' Cody Parkey in the 2018 NFC wildcard game against the Philadelphia Eagles. I often miss essential birthdays, texts, anniversaries, and emails, but I'm haunted daily by the recalling of the Chicago Cubs' Leon Durham first baseman missing a routine ground ball to cost the Cubs a playoff game back in 1984. I can even give myself a pass for being a sports nut because it's the only time my ADHD is considered a normal passion instead of a problem. Why does football, or any other sport for that matter, hook my ADHD brain? The game has built-in dopamine. The unpredictability provides constant hits, and every snap of the ball resets my focus, which is perfect for my short attention span. There is also a combination of structure and chaos. There are clear rules to the game, but there are also wild outcomes that defy logic. I think my brain loves it when there's chaos with boundaries. You know what I mean? There are rules and physical limits on the field, like sideline markers and hash marks. It's also easier to become hyper-focused on where the wind is blowing from, its velocity, the sod lodged in a player's face mask, why a certain water boy never smiles, the time constraints of quarters, remaining times out, and halftime, which all keep my brain locked in. And then, of course, there's the tribal identity nature of the game itself. Irrational team loyalty and a sense of belonging to a group of people that would leave the team for an extra $1 million at the drop of a hat. I think it has something to do with craving identity and anchors to keep us grounded. I'm obsessed with how well the Chicago Bears are doing, even though I don't think I could name 6 players on the roster. It would be much more understandable if one believed that pigs could fly than if one thought that someone could like both the Chicago Bears and the Green Bay Packers. But when it comes to football, ADHD common traits are decided strengths. There, of course, is a pattern recognition as we read plays and tendencies. There's overwhelming emotional intensity and practically unmatched fan energy. There's the big picture thinking and debate about strategy. And of course, we can tap into our memories for interest-based information, such as statistics, rosters, player drafts, how teams fare if most of their players are born in the first 3 months of the year. But the rubber meets the road when I must admit that things can get very dark when my emotional dysregulation kicks in. It is very easy for me to rage at officials, bad coaching decisions, dropped passes, missed tackles, and my mood can be affected for hours, days, weeks, or even months, depending on the disastrous outcome of a game. I even blame the Chicago Cubs for blowing the 1969 NL pennant for my poor freshman year grades. Although it was a baseball game, I still haven't gotten over the Cubs being 5 outs away from the World Series and blowing a 3-0 lead in the 8th inning of a Game 6 against the Marlins in 2003. I even believe that Chicago Blackhawks losing Game 7 of the 1971 Stanley Cup Finals ruined my sophomore year in college. Yes, when the game ends, the inevitable dopamine crash means tragedy that night, the next morning, and often well beyond. Sports in general can create friction in relationships. Partners and children are competing for your attention while you're riveted to the screen. The bottom line is that I'm not really mad at the game. I'm just dysregulated to the max. So why does football hook up with the ADHD brain? Let's try to break this thing down clearly, but I think casually. Built-in dopamine is about the unpredictability and the constant dopamine hits. Every snap resets attention, and that's perfect for people like me with short attention spans. There's actually structured chaos. There's clear rules, wild outcomes. ADHD brains thrive when chaos has boundaries. And there's also the hyperfocus window, time-boxed in quarters and halftime. External structure keeps the brain locked in. And of course, that tribal identity I talked about, team loyalty, is something about belonging. And ADHD brains crave identity anchors. That's just what we're about. And of course, the ADHD superpowers come into play too. Common ADHD traits can be football strengths: pattern recognition, reading plays and tendencies, emotional intensity, and unmatched fan energy. Big picture thinking, strategy debates, memory for interest-based info, stats, rosters, and drafts. The downside is the emotional dysregulation, raging at refs, mood ruined for hours or days, and my identity far too tied to outcomes. And then there's the hyperfocus hangover. The game ends, there's a dopamine crash, and then there's an irritability Sunday night or Monday morning. There definitely is also relationship friction. Partners feel ignored, kids are competing with the screens. You're not really mad at the game, you're just dysregulated. What do I do to try to regulate this during the game? I try to move my body, I pace, I stretch, maybe even do some light calisthenics. Eat some protein. That usually helps stabilize dopamine. I name my emotions out loud. I'm overstimulated, not furious, and such. After the game, I go for a 10-minute decompression ritual, usually a walk, sometimes a shower, listening to pleasant music, sometimes silence, and no immediate texting or ranting after the game. As far as relationships go, I try to set those expectations before game day, scheduling time to reconnect afterwards. This episode explores why football uniquely captures the ADHD brain. Through humor, light neuroscience, and cultural observation, it reframes football fandom as structured hyperfocus rather than dysfunction, while also addressing emotional dysregulation and practical tools for regulation. Clinically speaking, dopamine is not about pleasure. It's about motivation, anticipation, and engagement. Dopamine increases most in response to novelty, uncertainty, rapid feedback. Football provides all three every 30 seconds. From a neurological perspective, football creates repeated dopamine spikes that sustain attention and emotional investment, along with the temporary belief that yelling at the television somehow influences the outcome. This isn't an obsession. This is structured hyperfocus. The same seat, the same place on the couch, the same jersey, same snacks, superstitions you don't believe in, but absolutely follow. If something's going well and your legs are crossed, you cannot uncross them. You just can't do it. The ADHD brain struggles with open-ended attention, but thrives in time-boxed chaos. 4 quarters, clear rules, high stakes. Football doesn't fight the ADHD brain, it organizes it. ADHD traits that struggle in daily life suddenly become strength. Pattern recognition becomes play calling analysis. Emotional intensity becomes fan energy. Interest-based memory becomes encyclopedic sports knowledge. Put an ADHD brain in the right environment and it doesn't function, it excels. If football were school, ADHD kids would be gifted. The good news is you just don't have to listen to me and my ranting about football and ADHD, because we have a guest today, a coach who helps people regulate emotions, manage hyperfocus, and live balanced lives, who also coincidentally has a football problem. and we're talking to Coach Todd Blitzman. Welcome to the broadcast, Todd.
Thank you, sir. Happy to be here in all my magnificent mental glory.
Todd, or may I Coach, whatever you'd like me to call you, what do you prefer to be addressed as? I know genius. You like to be called genius. I know that, but, let's just for the...
Frankly, understating my prowess, but yes, you can call me that. But frankly, it's offensive to not know my title. I'm the most creative offensive coordinator in the league.
Everybody knows that. But it has not always led to success, the creativity. I think you said something about you believe in democracy in the huddle.
Well, I want everyone to be happy. I mean, I don't want anyone to be critical of me, especially when play goes bad. So when I get into that huddle, I ask everybody, "What do you guys think we should do?" I want a consensus, and we take votes. And
but you only have 30 seconds between snaps to do that.
Well, that's why we're one of the most penalized teams in the league. Unfortunately, we get tons of delays of game penalties. We have long discussions in the huddle about all the optional plays we might run. We could do this, we could pass, we could run around the end, we could go through the middle, we could do the Statue of Liberty, we could fake this, fake that.
Coach, you've talked about delay of game penalties, and one of the games that'll never be forgotten is in that playoff game. You were third and goal on the 3-yard line. You're that close to a touchdown. After a series of delay of games, you're the first team ever to have a fourth and goal from your own 40-yard line. I mean, that's how many penalties you had, and yet it didn't seem to deter you at all.
No, we have to take the bitter with the better. That's part of what it takes to get everybody happy. I mean, even though we lost by over 100 points that game, everyone was happy because they had a voice and they were all involved and they felt like they'd been heard.
There's a rumor going around, which I think is fascinating. And knowing you, I'm not going to poo-poo it. You feel that your team is really short on veteran help, especially a quarterback. You have a very young quarterback. There is a rumor that you're considering bringing Joe Nameth on board.
Well, I was going to give a spoiler alert, but you kind of ruined it for the public. Everyone knows now. Now the word's out there, be all over the internet. Thanks a lot.
Now, Coach, he's in his 70s, I believe.
Now he's 81. That's why no one expects him to be able to run or bootleg or throw those long bombs. It doesn't seem logical, but that's what we're all about, doing the unexpected. When the innovation is our watchword, and that's amazing. We've been negotiating hard, and he's almost ready to come back in. He's up to now he can do 12 or 14 push-ups a day, so he started training again. He's on the way back, and I wasn't going to divulge that. That should be a secret, but you kind of blew it for everyone, so thanks a lot.
It does trouble me, though. He's known to have some greatly reduced arm strength, arthritic knees, and some back problems. And yet you think he can handle a blitz and, when he gets sacked, is he going to be able to get up? Or will that motivate your offensive line to protect him more?
Now, that is my watchword, and blitz is part of my name, so I know how to pick them up. But basically, we rely on the kindness of human decency, the sense of humanity in our opponents, and I think what we're going to find out of basic decency, they're going to hesitate to tackle him. They're going to know he has osteoporosis, arthritis, his bones are brittle, and then if they tackle him, they could literally kill him or certainly maim him. So I think we're going to really rely on the decency of humanity when he gets in there, and that's going to enable us to score a lot of points.
So this is a pity strategy, in a way.
Well, I'd go that far. It's a sensitivity, a compassion strategy, and it gives glory and honor to the other team for being noble enough to let us win by looking out for him. So it's kind of a win-win for everyone, certainly for us.
Let me ask you this, Coach. You're known to be very spontaneous. So how do you actually prepare for a game during the week? You're known for not wanting to plan very much.
Well, I'm playing quite a bit. I just keep getting distracted in the middle of it. But I study film on Monday, and Tuesday I study more film, and Wednesday I accidentally reorganize the equipment room, and Thursday I invent a new formation because I got bored with the old one. Friday I panic, and Sunday I just rely on my spontaneous genius, which has served me well, as I'm sure you've seen.
A lot of people are questioning your distaste for technology. Every other coach, even in high school now, are using headphones to communicate with their quarterback. You prefer to yell at the quarterback from the sidelines. How's that working? Especially if you have 80,000 people, cheering. That seems like, how can he pick your voice out?
Well, I admit it is a problem, and I do try and I'm just very animated, and I scream as loud as I can, and most time they mishear whatever I'm saying, and that gets embarrassing. And um, I don't know. I'm gonna try to get into technology more, but for now, I'm thinking of switching to a bullhorn, and that
What
should
about
help.
signing? What about actually having someone sign the quarterback? So, of course, the other sideline could have someone who can read sign language too, though. So that would be a problem.
That's true, but unfortunately, our quarterbacks are pretty uneducated, and they wouldn't know what we're signing anyway. They're not as gifted and brilliant as the coaches on the team.
You are known as maybe the most innovative coach in the history of football. You tried the carrier pigeon method of bringing the play to the quarterback. Can you tell us about that? Because it didn't seem to work well.
Yeah, the problem is they're being the kind of fans we have, and they bring their shotguns to the game. It's a carry state, and so those pigeons are on the way to the quarterback, and they get blasted out of the air by all these hunters in the stands, so feathers fly everywhere, and it is dangerous. The players could get hit too. But
But it was creative. I mean, nobody had ever thought about doing that. And I thought that was amazing.
yeah, well, I'm all kinds of innovation. I mean, other coordinators have systems. I have impulses. Sometimes they call a flea flicker on 3rd and 27 because my brain whispered, what if I mean, it's all part of my genius. No one expects a pass to our center or our tackle or our guard. We tuck it under his jersey and his shirt, and then he looks like a big jock strap, so he looks very well endowed. And then we just tell him, "Run for your life," and no one can bring down these big brutes. So it's all part of being clever and just not distracted and trying to stay focused. I have electrifying impulses, and they really have proven my genius well.
One thing you're known for, and I think some people would hesitate to operate this way, but most people think before they speak. You do the opposite. You speak first, and then you think about it. How's that working?
Well, it's painful for me to look back because I sit and obsess on it, and I criticize myself. Why did I say that? And I lament over the fact that this is not what I should have said, and then people are getting the wrong idea, and I obsess on it all day long. I just can't shake it. So that's not a good thing, and I'm working on solving that. But I do, I am. People say my playbook is anything if it's not unconventional, and I run plays nobody runs. I draw plays like remember if you can think back, that was so funny. I did that play when no one on the team moved when the ball was snapped. We just stood there, and the quarterback got trashed, of course. But it was so funny. Everyone wondered what the hell we're doing. So just for the sake of being innovative and shocking people, I don't mind if we lose or a play goes bad, just because it's so unexpected. I love doing what no one thinks you can do.
One thing I have to credit you with, and this is something you're famous for, is if you don't know what you're doing, how could your opponents possibly know what you're doing?
Well, I know, isn't that clever? It's overkill for sure, but if I can't track who's moving here and who's going to go here and what the defense is doing, they sure as hell can't. Confusion is our main strategy. That's part of ADHD efficiency.
Also, I guess with ADHD, there have been many cases, many games where things worked out poorly because you are very poor at keeping track of how much time is left or even what the score is. So your plays sometimes don't seem to dovetail with the game circumstances, the game situation.
Yeah,
I remember one critical play that you were under the bench looking for a pen during a critical play.
I know. Isn't that ridiculous? It is a curse, frankly. It is a problem, but pressure seems to go up. I'll misplace the play sheet, but then I'll dial up the most irresponsible touchdown you've ever seen, and the fans will go wild. I love when they love me.
You're also known for, and that's a gift of ADHD, your ability to hyper focus. Sometimes I'm told that you'll just take a look at an opposing linebacker and see what his blink rate is. You're focused on that, and sometimes you try to interpret what defensive play they're going to call.
Yeah, if they look you in the eye, I change the play instantly because basically I'm scared for my quarterback. I'm terrified by my hyper focus. So once I thought it was very clever when we were doing a kickoff, just as the kicker's foot hit the ball for that onside kick, I set our bench on fire, and everyone was totally distracted. And while they're looking over there, we were easy to pick up the ball, and we actually ran it all the way back. It was hysterical. A couple of players got badly burned, of course, but it was for the good of the team, and they took it very well. But I always think of something unexpected. That's my ADD blessing, I guess.
You'll do anything to win. That's kind of your motto, isn't it?
Yep, and it's winning is everything, as Lombardi would say. So that's why when the quarterback is confused and I'm confused, and so the other team is too. The more confused we are, the more confused our opponents are. So if we don't know what we're doing, how the hell could they hope to figure it out?
There are those that would hesitate to coach the way you do. Your record in the last couple of years is 3 wins and 47 losses. Do you thinking about maybe changing the way you coach?
I don't know. I'm proud of the way I coach, even though it doesn't seem to pay off for the owners. But we're proud of those 47 losses. The 3 victories were kind of anomalies. I don't know how those happened, but we're proud of finding unique ways to lose. I mean, we just it's called creativity disguised as chaos.
Yes, and
Creativity disguised as chaos. My brain was built for broken plays and bad, hopeless situations. I call those opportunities. Structure makes me itchy. Looming disaster dials me in. My opponents don't know how to plan for chaos, and that's our real strength. And of course, that's going to lead to losses.
maybe an unfair accusation is some people, with the abysmal record your team has under your leadership, people think that just because your father owns a team, that has something to do why you haven't been fired.
Well, and certainly helps. I've always been a big believer in nepotism. After all, he is responsible for my ADD. He was, so tough on us as kids. We looked for other outlets and we went inward and had to develop our creativity and, innovation to get around his meanness. And so that's why I think his guilt factor, he keeps me in, even though it's not necessarily good for the bottom line.
Any final message before we end this interview for your fans out there?
Well, I just want people to know I script the first 15 plays, then I ignore them completely. And once I see how much beer the fans are buying in the stands, I have a better idea of what's going to happen. And then I notice my shoelace needs to be tied, so I bend over to do that, and I look up, and the play's over, and we've either done amazing or been brutalized. But I get too immersed in hyper focusing on our competitors. Like last week, that safety had way too much facial hair. The dreadlocks I could see, but the wind drag on him gave us that nanosecond we needed to break our running back free for the score. Narcissism is our best ally.
Coach, as we wrap up, I guess the final question is, I feel very sympathetic. It must be hell living the way you live and coaching the way you're coaching.
What you call hell, I call home.
Well, Coach, we look forward to talking with you again, assuming you still have your job. Coach Blitzman, thank you for spending this time with us, and we look forward to watching your game on Sunday. For ADHD brains, intense engagement often comes with emotional dysregulation, post-game dopamine crashes, and identity fusion with outcomes. You're not furious because of the score. You're dysregulated because of the dopamine stopped. The game didn't ruin your mood. The withdrawal did. If your brain can focus for 3 hours on football, it's not broken. It's interest-driven. Football didn't create your ADHD. It just speaks your brain's language fluently. Sunday hyperfocus is real, so plan accordingly. If this episode hit home, don't keep it to yourself. Send it to someone who'd get it. You can follow the show so you don't miss the next conversation. And if you feel like it, a quick rating helps the show a great deal. Either way, I appreciate you being here. We'll talk soon.
This podcast is for informational purposes only. The content reflects personal experiences and opinions and is not a substitute for professional medical, psychological, mental health, or legal advice. Flint Rock LLC, the hosts, and guests make no representation or warranties and assume no liability for decisions or actions taken based on this content. Always consult a qualified professional regarding your own situation.